Jason Wilford here from Pro Guitar Studio, here to talk today about combining the minor and major pentatonic scales. And we can also refer to this as a parallel minor and parallel major pentatonic scale. Now you might have heard of this before, in terms of playing over the blues, that you can use the minor and the major pentatonic of whatever key you're in. So let's say you're playing a blues in the key of G, using the G minor and G major pentatonic. Well, let's take a look at this piece. We're going to learn the phrases that go through this. I'm just going to use shape number 1 of the pentatonic scale, or the minor pentatonic, I guess we can refer to that, to learn this whole thing. And we're just going to move it around, and we're going to use that to try to understand how this works. Okay, so first up, let's just take a listen to the song right here. Alright, so now that you've heard the piece that we're going to learn today, let's talk for a moment about what we're going to do here and how it all works. So if you look at the minor pentatonic scale, let's just say we're, in this case here, we're doing B minor, okay, so the key of B. And I'm a fan of moving things around, so I don't like to stick to the key of A or E all the time. I like to move things around just so you get comfortable in different places on the fretboard. But B minor pentatonic, I'll put a cleaner sound on here. We'll start on the 7th fret of string number 6 to the 10th fret string number 6 as well. So we're going to go 7, 10 on the next string, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10, all right? And if you don't know this scale, I think it's a good investment of your time to go back and learn this scale. So that's referred to as the minor pentatonic. And usually, different resources will call that shape number 1. That's what I'm going to refer to here. Now, when I talk about minor and major pentatonic scales, I don't change the shape names, all right? So I'm going to keep them the same. We're just talking about using the minor or the major. So for me, this is always shape 1, whether I'm using minor or major pentatonic. Shape number 1, because it's really confusing if you tell someone this is shape number 1 and then all of a sudden we're in the major pentatonic and it's a different number, like shape number 5, okay? So let's just keep it simple. This is all shape number 1. Now, minor pentatonic, this is the root note right here. So we play like a minor chord. We're going to call that the B minor pentatonic. But a nice cool thing here, we can take the same shape and we can actually move it back 3 frets. So 1, 2, 3. So we start first finger on the 4th fret, and the pinky finger, if we think of this as the root note now, we can call this B major pentatonic. So this note here won't sound that good, but like with the B major. Right, so if I had like a chord. So that's very happy, very major sounding. But if I play the minor pentatonic over that same chord, it still works, even though it's a major chord that I played. All right, so that's going to work as well. And so B minor versus B major, it's nice to spend some time going between those, but keep in mind, when you do the B major, that first finger is not going to sound good. It's a passing tone to that note, okay? So B minor, B major. All right, so those are both going to work for you. Now, when I play the minor pentatonic, typically I'll add the blues note in randomly without thinking too much about it. So the minor blues scale adds 1 note. In the key of B minor, it's going to be the F note. So we're going to add that 1 note in. You'll see in the song there's one point where we're actually going to add that in. So keep in mind, if you're thinking about, why is that note there? Where is it from? It's from the minor blues scale, which is very closely related. To me, these two scales, the minor pentatonic and the minor blues scale, are almost interchangeable. I use them all the time without thinking about it, and I cross over between those two scales just based on what I want to hear in that moment, okay? So we're going to take a look here. Well, the 2 chords we're doing are B7, and I'm not going to play the rhythm, but I'm just going to give you the idea. So we're B7, and then E9. Okay, so those are the 2 chords. So over the B7 chord, which essentially is from the blues, right? We're using the first chord, so chord number 1, B. In this case, I'm playing a B7 chord, and a 4 chord, which is an E. So in the key of B, the first chord is B, the 4th chord is E, and we're making it a little more bluesy or funky by using these 7th chords. Right? So when I play over the B7 chord, I'm going to use a B major pentatonic. Now both will work, the B minor and the B major, but the in this case here, the major pentatonic's going to work pretty well over that chord. It's going to fit really nicely. All the chord tones are there. like I said, you can still use the minor, but I want to show you how to mix these two shapes. Now, if you keep going with the minor shape, or sorry, the major shape, and you play over the E9, it can work, but it's not that interesting. Like if I played this rhythm here, it still works, but to me, I like it better when I switch scales. So when we play over the B7 chord, we're going to use a B major pentatonic. When we play over the the E9 chord, we're going to play the B minor pentatonic. And really, if you dig into the theory here, it's because the chord tones line up. So over the B major or B7, the B major pentatonic has a root, the third, and the fifth, right? If you look deeper at all the notes, we have root, second, third. This one right here, you're going to go down, if you look at the based on the root note, right? We have an F sharp, it's the fifth. This note here, which is a G sharp, that's the sixth, just so you can visualize it better, right? And then back to our root note. So we have root, second, third, fifth, sixth. But really the big ones there are the root, the third, and the fifth, right? So the arpeggio from the major chord. Now, if you look at the E9 chord, when we talk about the B minor pentatonic, I usually look at this as the root note, but if we're playing over an E9 chord, this is the root note here. So we have root, second, fourth, fifth, flat seven. And that's really why it works. It has the second, the fifth, the root, and also the flat seven. It doesn't have the major third, but it sounds pretty cool otherwise, right? So this is going to sound really nice over that chord. And if you find that fourth interval, like if your ear wants to go back one fret to that third, that's cool too. And you'll see a lot of players will add that in over that. We'll add that one note in, okay? But right now we're sticking to straight, minor pentatonic or minor blues and major pentatonic, okay? So going through this phrase, I'm going to start on the B major pentatonic on the 6th fret of string number 5. So the D sharp. And we're going to go to string number 4, 4th fret, 6th fret. So this is going to be an F sharp, G sharp. And then we're going to play the 4th fret, string number 3, which is a B note. And we're going to slide a grace note slide from the 6th fret on string 3, which is a C sharp, to a D sharp, which is fret number 8. 7th fret, string number 2, which is an F sharp, G sharp, which is fret number 9. So the 7th fret, string number 1, which is a B. Over the B, right? Or B7. And then we're going to play 7, 9, 7, which is B, C sharp, B. And then we're going to go, so 7, 9, 7, 11, D sharp. 9, which is C sharp. Back to a B, which is 7. At this point here, the E9 chord is about to come in. So an 8th note early, we're going to grab onto the 10th fret string number 1, which is the D note. Right? This is from the minor pentatonic. And we'll let that note ring out. Okay, we'll let it ring out for an additional 8th note. So we have sort of hang time right there. And then we're going to come down the pentatonic scale. So we have D, B, G, F sharp. And then string number 3, we're going to play 10, 9, 7. So this is the blues note here. 10, which is F, E, D. So 10, 7, 10, 7, 10, 9, 7 to the 9th fret, string number 4. Okay, and that note rings out an extra 8th note. Coming back down again in the scale. So an A note, 7th fret, string 4. F sharp, E on string 5, which is 9, 7. And then go down to the 5th fret, which is a D. 7th fret, string 6, which is a B. Back to a D, which is 5th fret, string 5. And then we're going to finish off the last 8th note on that measure with the same note we started with, 6th fret on string number 5. And so at this point here, the whole riff is basically a big circle. So I've made it so we can just keep repeating it and going through. So we're going up one scale, down the next. And that's where the beauty is here. I'm hoping that you can actually visualize things as you learn this. Right, and that I should have said before too, if I didn't say it already, this note rings out, 7th fret, string number 1, and additional 8th note. And so a lot of these rhythms repeat throughout. Once we get into it, the last note on each measure is going to be hang time to the next measure, okay? So we're actually going to hold that an extra 8th note. So this whole riff here, once we start it, this repeats. So learn that, get comfortable with it, and then eventually I want you to start thinking about combining these two scales. So if you want to improvise, you can start with the B major pentatonic. And take your time with it. It takes a while to get used to actually switching scales, mid phrase. But it will really line up nicely. And this is eventually working towards the bigger picture of playing a blues progression, right? So the 1, 4, and 5. But here we're just focusing on the 1 and the 4 chords. So at least you can see how you can make phrases with those two scales, the major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. And so a lot of times I think this is left out of a lot of lessons I've seen on using these two scales. A lot of times you'll see lessons just saying you can use both the major and minor pentatonic, but not explain that it's dependent on the chord that's played. Okay, so in this case here, we want to use the major pentatonic over the 1 chord, which is B, and the minor pentatonic over the 4 chord, which is E, or E9 in this case. All right, so have fun with that. Enjoy the phrase, loop it over and over, get used to the different positions, and you'll see I'm moving from shape 1 up. And also when I go back down on the minor pentatonic, I'm moving down to shape number 5. So I am getting a few parts of shape number, I guess in this case here, shape number 2, and shape 3 here, just for that one note. But otherwise, we're trying to just visualize how to move between those different scales, right? The minor and the major, or the major and then the minor, okay? So have fun with this. All students get access to additional materials such as a PDF for all the notes that I've played here, as well as the backing track, so the recording you can just play along with, and the video clip, just so you can see me playing this by itself, and you can slow it down and have fun with that, okay? And if you like this, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.